of all, my name is Kenny Park. I'm one of the TAs with Steve's program. I'm actually just brand new, actually, and he asked me to do a presentation with networking and building relationships because that's something that I feel like I've been really good at and really developed. So thank you for having me once again. So throughout the whole presentation, if you have any questions, feel free to just raise your hand, let me know. I'm a little new to the whole presentation thing, so hopefully I can see when people are chatting or commenting or whatnot. But thanks again, and let's get going. So first of all, I titled this "How to Build Relationships Before and During Law School to Better Maximize Your Legal Career," because interestingly enough, we think of networking as kind of like a like a negative. We have a negative connotation with networking. It gets a bad rap for being all about getting a job and using people for your own personal gain, but it really isn't the case. It actually is just really about building those relationships. Last week, actually, the way I got this title was I was applying for a position with the LA County Bar Association, and I was just chatting with one of the members there, and he was telling me, you know what, like I hate using the word networking. He really wanted to say building relationships, and we're like, oh my gosh, we kind of thought that's a great idea. So I told him I was doing a presentation, and I decided to go ahead and do this. Last week, we were just talking about my presentation. We thought, you know what, why not call it building relationships? And reaching out to people for information and to connect are simply just reflections of human nature. I'm not a scientist, I'm not a biologist, I don't know all that stuff about Darwin and things like that, but it really is just kind of part of our human nature to want to speak with others and to want to just learn more about them and see how we can kind of grow that community, whether it be present or virtual. So what do you guys think? Like, is there anything else you would want to call this instead of networking or building relationships? I wanted to ask if anyone had any suggestions. Feel free to chat or like type in the chat or, unmute yourself. No, we could be settled on building relationships and networking. That's fine with me. Thank you both, everyone. Yeah, I just think like I said earlier, that the bad rap is something that it's not a huge deal, but I think it just makes the process a lot less pressuring and everything. And I know for everyone here who's interested in law school, whatever it may be, law school is a tough place, and so any chance to lessen that pressure is ideal. But okay, let's move on then to the next slide. Oh, no. So why are building relationships important? So I wanted to bring a little bit of stats here to show that I'm not just, taking this all out of nowhere, but, experts say roughly, 70% of people ended up with their current position thanks to building relationships. There's this idea of the hidden job market where, quite frankly, there are a lot of jobs that you won't see in the legal field because they're word of mouth, they're referrals, and they're great ways for you to kind of bypass that general application and go straight to the employer with a leg up. The fact that you would know about a job that no one else does simply because you had those relationships and those connections is truly amazing. I wanted to quickly just give my anecdote where, I'm a 1L at Loyola Law School right now this year. And I have a job with a judge actually in Southern California. And obviously I had good grades and everything, but actually there was a connection with, one of the clerks being from Loyola. And, so even just that alumni connection or whatnot, I hopefully played a big role, and hopefully it can be something that you all can take when you're applying for jobs in the future. So I think throughout the whole presentation, I want to kind of consider these core principles that I think are going to be really helpful for us to just kind of, facilitate a good conversation and keep it in the back of your head. First one is just be genuine. I think we all realize here that you can see right through the fake attitudes that people have. You can tell when someone's, using you, or someone is like, there's an ulterior motive behind it. And I think that's why building relationships is so important, is because we're really trying to just be genuine and honest here. We're trying to just show people that we care, that we're, charismatic, and that we're just here to learn, not to use people for personal gain or whatnot. You also want to know what you're looking for. I know that's a little counterintuitive because you think, oh my gosh, so you want to have a purpose, but how can you say like you can do that while also being genuine? And I think that they're not mutually exclusive. I truly think you can know what you're looking for in terms of who you want to talk with and just like what kind of conversations you want to have, but doesn't mean you can't be genuine about it. You still want to ask them about, their personal lives and asking them what they're interested in, things like that. I think it doesn't have to be black and white. They can work together. The next one is understanding where the right venues and places are to meet people. I think often when we think of building relationships and networking, we often overlook the setting and how important that can be. So I don't know if any of you ever thought about it, but is it a right place to be asking to talk with someone at a doctor's office when they're probably doing something really personal? Probably not. Maybe at the library, debatable. It depends if they're studying or whatnot. But outside in the public when someone's just sipping coffee or maybe at a networking event itself. Sorry, building relationship event. My bad. But knowing the situation and those right times and places to be meeting people. Also providing value to others. What can I do for this person as well? And again, I'm not trying to be counterintuitive here. I just think like you want to come in here building those relationships, but you also want to understand that like in a relationship, it's a two-way street, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a marriage, relationship, father, son, father, daughter, mother, etc. There are things that you can do for each other to better your lives. And I think that's a better way of putting things as opposed to, using people for just to get a job or whatnot. And next thing is always following up with someone and showing thanks. I think one of the biggest things for me is in high school, I was so close to my vice principal. And that was because not only did I always reach out to him after we talked, but I also, wrote him thank you cards multiple times. And I would check on him at the office, and I would even, ask him about his personal life and seeing how things are. So, things like that hopefully will build upon themselves. And, that vice principal ends up being a great friend for me. He writes a letter of recommendation for me when I go to college and just is a great referral for the jobs I've applied to since. So, just thinking like that, I wasn't trying to befriend him to get those jobs. But I was building that relationship with him because we had that mutual connection. We both just cared, and just things like that. So I just want to take a quick moment to pause. Anyone have any questions so far? Any concerns? Everything good? Shoot me a thumbs up, or you can start unmuting yourself and talk if you need anything. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, no, great stuff. Thank you, Cart. Like I would say, I know most of you are probably law students here, or, are interested in doing so. And a big thing when you're applying for jobs is thank you cards, especially for when you're applying to judges. The fact that you handwrite something, we're in such a digital age now that handwriting something and showing like, hey, I love the conversation we had. Thank you so much for sharing about X, Y, Z. I really look forward to meeting you. Just that extra effort is something that I kid you not, most people do not do. And I think that's something that worked for me this past year with applying for jobs. So yeah, the thank you cards are just a great way of just showing that you care, that extra effort. Okay, yeah, let's move on. There's a quote actually from a very famous author, Michelle Tillis Letterman, The 11 Laws of Likability. And this quote is, whether they stem from business or personal situations, our relationships are what support us, connect us, and allow us to progress in all aspects of our lives. And I think this is a quote that I read, way back, and I thought about it when I was making this presentation. I was like, what seems to be a good quote that kind of encompasses the whole message? And I think this is it. I think this is something that hopefully you guys can all keep for the rest of your lives. And so I think this is just a quote that really stands out. I don't know if, has anyone ever heard of this quote or like heard of this author? I think she's really famous, and she's, really great inspiration for me. Anyone? Raise your hand. No? All good? It's okay. Well, anyways, yeah, I think this is the big quote that hopefully you guys can look into in the future. Just, understanding that our relationships are really everything. We are humans, we connect. And that's what I'm saying here. I kind of sound like one of those, like those salespeople, or the really cliche people you see in commercials where they're like, relationships are everything. And this is the key to success, and like blah, blah, blah. And I'm really not trying to do that necessarily, but I just think that this is just a really important lesson that hopefully everyone can take from this. Okay, but why should we focus on relationships before law school? So one of the first points is, whether you know it or not, someone you're connected with before law school can help you land a job. That's a really, you won't know that the people you're becoming friends with now might be that future attorney that refers to you in the future, or an employer that you didn't even know about. It's also always nice to just know people from different backgrounds and areas. I think diversity is key. And so yeah, just you never know, what happens. Knowing people from different backgrounds can also teach you a lot about like what other people are going through. And I think that's a huge thing as an attorney that we need to be able to do, is to understand different situations. What are people going through? How do we deal with that? What do we understand? It's also good practice for when you enter law school, become an attorney, because quite frankly, they think of, as attorneys, we think of like, we're just doing paperwork and we're writing contracts and stuff, but it's a lot about the knowing the opposing counsel and building that rapport with the judge and whatnot. So it's a lot more important than you think. And also the legal field is all about who you know, which you shouldn't be scared about because it will work to your advantage because we're doing these lessons, and you guys are understanding this. So why should we continue building relationships during law school? So, okay, let's say you took the LSAT, you got a great score, you apply to schools, you get the scholarship money, you're in law school, you're at your dream school and everything. Why do you want to continue building relationships? You think, I'm here already. I just need to get good grades. I need to, be good with my professors. That's it. I don't need to build relationships with people. Your peers are people who you're going to work with in the future. Again, like I said before law school as well, these are the people you're going to work with for forever, as an attorney. For example, for me, I'm in the LA market, and a lot of the people I go to school with are going to be LA attorneys, LA judges, LA counsel. And so the last thing I want is to be on bad terms with them. If anything, I want all of us to be a community where we can kind of reach out to each other and, help each other out when we need to. Also, in terms of your professors are brilliant. They're at law school and teaching there for a reason, and they want to help you however possible. And so building relationships, not only just in terms of possible employers, but also just like going to office hours with them, asking them how they are, what they're going through. It can really go a long way. I'm happy to share more about that later, but just, a very important tip as well. Also, connecting with attorneys and practicing areas you're interested in will help you learn about what you want to do in the future. I mean, the whole point of law school is to figure out, not only just to learn about the law and how to think like a lawyer, but also what do you want to practice? Family law, immigration, bankruptcy, corporate, who knows? So just the more relationships you build, the more knowledge you can gain. And can you see a pattern here? It's like the more you do this, the more genuine you be, and the more people you meet, the more you better yourself, and the more you're bettering and they're bettering from connecting with you as well. And it's also good practice to continuously work on your social skills. I know with the quarantine and the Zoom environment, we all have kind of, lost that sense of interpersonal skills almost. Like, for me, going outside and going to the grocery store and talking with someone is a little weird still because, I'm in my apartment by myself and I don't see many people. So that's just, always building those skills is good. If anyone has any like tips for how to deal with like those interpersonal skills amidst the Zoom or like the pandemic, shoot in the chat, let me know after, because it's been tough for me personally. I don't know anyone else, you live by yourself or, your family's far away, raise a hand, send in the comments. Like it's tough. So I really relate to anyone who's going through that as well. Just want to take a quick moment and say that. Okay. All right, cool. So what to do before you're reaching out to someone? So, okay. So, obviously we're building relationships here, and how do we get there? You do have to eventually reach out to someone and ask them, whether it's your, classmate, whether it's an employer, or whether it's someone that you just want to connect with and, learn more about. You have to put in that work. So the number one step is do the work. Suggest a time and place and make logistics easier for the person you want to meet. Makes it so much more likely that they'd be willing to meet. For example, first of all, Matt, thank you for saying that, going to the office once per week and seeing people face to face is really healthy. Thank you so much. It's a great, honestly, piece of advice. Just getting a little bit of that, that contact. And so, okay, I'm gonna use you for an example. Let's say, or Matthew, sorry. Let's say that Matthew, you want to reach out to me. You never met me before, but you want to talk about, the LSAT or something. And not saying I wouldn't meet with you, but I think if you, send me an email or, hey, my name's Matthew, I'm doing this, I'm a student at blah, blah, blah. How does 2 p.m. for you on this Friday work? It makes it a lot easier for me as opposed to saying, when's a good time for you? I'm open to anything, then it's kind of like, it just makes it a little more open-ended. Also coming prepared. Everyone has a LinkedIn nowadays, so don't be shy about looking at the person before meeting them and work on a quick elevator pitch by yourself if needed, depending on the situation. Maybe it's a lot more casual than you think, but this is the pro tip actually on LinkedIn. If you look at someone's name and your profile is like logged in, they will actually see who viewed your profile, which I don't know if anyone's done that, but I've done that. And they told me like, yeah, I knew you looked me up because I got a notification that said, Kenny Park looked you up or viewed your profile. Anyone else done that? That is like not embarrassing, but it's it's kind of funny. I didn't realize that actually happened. So anyone did, leave in the comments, let me know because that was a new experience for me. I was startled. I was like, no way, I didn't know you could do that. Um, but yeah, so specifically, if you're meeting an attorney, look them up and get a brief understanding of their practice area. You don't want to waste their time. We want to build relationships with someone and have that honest conversation, but you also want to come in, not knowing nothing. Obviously, you want to understand what they're practicing, what they do, maybe even find out what their interests are somehow if it's on a blog post or article or whatever. But at least understanding what they've done helps you with that conversation and to be more fluid, more calm, more composed, etc. And bring questions that you really want answered. Often I think when you go to an interview or when you're just talking with someone, you often forget about the questions you want to ask, which you think is like, it seems intuitive. You think, I go into a situation asking, but I know friends of mine and me too, I've gone into situations where I'm like, oh, I actually focused so much on setting up the whole meeting that I forgot what I wanted to ask. Um, and then you end up just kind of sitting there and not really getting what you wanted to ask. Sure, you get to talk with them about some personal things and whatnot, but if you're there specifically to learn more about what they do, it'd be important to have those questions. So like I said here, can you tell me a bit about how you got here? I'm really interested in this and notice you work at that can go a long way. um,
Hey, Kenny, this is Matthew. I was going to say that when you do a little bit of homework on who you're meeting with and get an idea of what they do, if it's done in the right way, it can be really flattering to that person as well.
hmm?
Which always, I think, can certainly be positive.
Hey, Matthew, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that actually. And anyone, feel free to just chime in when you want to. It's, open it's a, this, we're building relationships here. It's an open conversation, but thank you. Yeah, it is flattering, when you get to tell someone, lawyers, let's be real, lawyers love talking about themselves. Trust me, I've encountered enough now, applying for jobs and meeting them. They love talking about what they've done. So you're right, Matthew. If you go in saying, wow, like I knew that you worked at Morrison and Forrester doing XYZ, like, and I heard you got this award. Like, that's really awesome. Can you tell me more about that? I think that might come off a bit, cliche or like, formulaic, but if you do it the right way, like we're learning, it can be, like you said, really flattering. So thank you so much, man. Appreciate it. And also thank you again for your comment about just going to the office, about, how to kind of overcome the Zoom loneliness stuff. And also arrive early. The last thing you want to do is get there, on time or late, because then your actions speak louder than your words. It reflects very positively if you get there early. You set everything up. You want to make it again easy as possible for them because you're trying to facilitate. You're trying to focus on the conversation. You're really not trying to make anything else harder. So what to do while you're talking with someone. So now you're actually there. You're in the situation. You're ready to build that relationship. You're ready to talk with them. What do you do? First of all, be calm. Things like this, things like a video mishap, like this, for example, where your camera is just continuously going on and off. That could be stressful. Not gonna lie, I'm a little sweaty right now. I think, oh man, I want to make this presentation so fluid and calm for you guys, and I tried to prep so much, but of course, a difficulty comes. But be calm. Realize that everyone is in these situations too. We're all people just trying to get through it. And so, I appreciate everyone's patience here. And the same thing, when you're in that conversation with someone, just be calm. Don't show any signs of being frazzled or whatnot. Just, people will understand. And if they don't, then is that really someone you want to build a relationship with? That's a question we'll have to ask for later. But obviously, for next thing is making a connection or getting a job out of a conversation is awesome. But by focusing your purpose on building that relationship, you can take the pressure off the conversation. I don't know about any of you, but when you're going into an interview, for example, that there's like this pressure of like, oh my gosh, I have to get this result out of this meeting. And if I don't, then I fail. And what happens, you don't focus on just being yourself and being genuine and out there. You end up it just becomes so pressuring. So if anyone else has done, experienced that, then I relate to you totally. But taking that pressure off just by taking the label off, or the of what you want. Like, sure, you want a job at the end of the day and a connection in the future, but focusing on just building relationships with people and getting to meet them, that takes a lot of pressure off of it. Next thing is be outgoing. And I know everyone has different personalities. As you can tell from me, I love talking and I'm very like, I use my hands and I'm very my voice carries a lot and everything, but some people that just isn't who they are, and that's totally fine. So I don't mean to say be outgoing and be different from who you are, but it does take a little bit of kind of getting out of your shell, showing someone that you're at least enthusiastic and passionate. You don't have to be using all these hand gestures and you have to speak with a really loud voice and stuff, but project that confidence, show them that you're here because you're a great dope person and that's someone that they want to build a relationship with and you're going to further their life and they're going to further your life too. It's like that kind of thing. Don't be afraid to make the conversation a bit more casual, but read the room first. So for example, if I'm going to be building a relationship with a judge, for example, I'm probably not going to be very casual unless the judge is too. I think in email etiquette, for example, I'll always be using hi or dear and then sincerely until the other person who I'm emailing breaks that chain, and then I'll kind of follow them. It's the same thing here, But if it's like you're meeting another law student or you're meeting a law student who's maybe a few years older than you, chances are that they're just trying to have a good conversation, and that you can be a little more casual than you want to. But that's kind of the thing I'm saying is read the room. That's actually a really important thing in general, just in every situation. Also, compliment the person you're talking with. I think Matthew, I'm kind of alluding back to the point you were making earlier, but it's it's human nature for us to feel good when we say something. So for example, if you're talking with someone and you notice like, wow, I just wanted to say, I want to take a moment before we keep going. It's just, I really appreciate all the things you're saying so far. I think you have a lot of great experience. And I think I appreciate that you're just being so open and honest with me. Like it's really rare to see. And those kind of comments, they'll actually go a long way. You'd be surprised at like how more willing people would be to open up to you because you complimented them. Has anyone else, like honestly, raise your hand or feel free to unmic if you've ever experienced that too, where when you compliment a friend, a family member, or just random stranger, you can kind of see them blow up. Has anyone seen that? Because I have personally, that's why I'm saying it, but anyone else?
Kenny, this is Matthew Feist. So kind of going by what you're talking about, I think if you give somebody if you give them a compliment like that, compliment them on their approach or behavior or, their communication style, something unique. I
Mhm.
think, I think that really goes a long ways towards getting them engaged in conversation with you. And for some people, it may take them by surprise in all the positive ways, for example.
Mhm. Yeah, no, it's I think it's and thank you so much. And also thank you, Catherine, for also giving your comments as well too. There's this theme of unexpectedness. People aren't used to getting complimented, especially with someone you just met. And there's two things. Not only one is it unexpected and flattering, but also it just shows that you are paying attention. Like if you're commenting on something or complimenting them on something that they had mentioned in your conversation, it shows that you were really paying attention. For some of us, and I don't blame if anyone here is, zoning out a little bit. I get it, the whole camera issue and stuff. It can be a little bit, distracting, so you might lose focus here. But when someone's talking with you and then your head just kind of goes into a different direction and you forget what they were saying and then you kind of look like a fool, like you're like, what did you say? It's kind of like, it helps you stay focused and on track, and then it really shows someone who's cared. So yeah, thank you again. Also, the final thing I say here, what to do while talking to someone is finding something to connect with you to and build from there. So, in our resumes, we always talk about our hobbies, right? My hobbies are snowboarding, golf, and biking, a lot of outdoor activities. And I put that on my resume. And actually, when I was interviewing with one of the clerks, our conversation revolved around some of that, and so it was really cool just to see that your conversation, like one topic. Actually, no, I'm sorry. It wasn't with the clerk. It was actually with it was just with someone else I was just chatting with or whatnot. We, just because we both played golf, we got to talk about that. We became much more comfortable. And the conversation kept going forward. So, always having that one thing that you can relate to, that one background that you share, an experience, a story, can really make a difference. And so, as you can tell, the big thing is just be open, be honest, and be genuine about who you are, and you'll be surprised at how comfortable people can feel talking with you. But yeah, so far everyone's good. I know we're like about 30 minutes in, we're halfway. Hopefully everyone's hanging in there so far. Cool. Okay, perfect. All right, let's keep going. Okay, so conversation tips. We're gonna keep going into this, what to do while you're in the conversation, because that's the game. That's the crunch time. That's where all the work you did beforehand and doing all these, like watching this lesson and like practicing your skills. This is where it all matters at the end of the day. Ask questions that will engage the other person and create dialogue. Again, when you're talking with someone, what's the best thing you can do is asking them questions, because then it'll make them feel comfortable and they'll start talking about themselves, and then you can figure out what they like and enjoy, and yeah, and also my video stopped again as a common theme. Okay, I'm back. All right. Also, another thing is, while you do want to talk, it's also important to get them talking about themselves and finding a mutual interest. So that's, something we already talked about there. It's just finding that connection, that point, and then building off of that. Because once you got from golf and you go to, that trip you had before, and then vice versa, be considerate of time. But if you feel that the conversation is going really smoothly, feel free to say, this has honestly been so fantastic. I will definitely suggest meeting again soon, but I'm happy to stay longer if you have the time. It's also kind of like a compliment as well, that you're showing that you're loving that conversation so much. And maybe they do have time, maybe they don't, but if they do, you can talk more, learn more about it. And you'd be surprised at how much maybe an hour or 2 hour conversation can be in terms of that relationship you just built right there. And also being confident and making good eye contact. Right now over Zoom, it's hard to really kind of read the room, because obviously we're all looking at cameras. But when you're in person, hopefully soon and everything, that posture, if you're standing up or just like sitting up straight when you're sitting, and not slouching or everything, and just projecting your voice, showing that you're confident and making good eye contact. I hope, obviously this isn't repetitive. You've all probably learned this, but I just want to reiterate these kind of social skills that are so important. Making good eye contact is huge. It shows that you're in the moment. You're not distracted by this fly over there or whatnot. It just shows you're in it. You're not distracted. As I say that, I'm getting distracted about my camera continuously. Messing up. Let's see if this works again. Come on. I may have to switch to my MacBook, but that's going to be unfortunate because my monitor is right here. Nope. Let's try it one more time. All right, y'all. Honestly, what I may do is I may just have to do the presentation with my screen off as well. I'm so sorry about that, but I think it'll just, hopefully help the flow and not have to keep interrupting everything. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so far we're good at least. Okay, next thing is being considerate. Okay, we talked about that, and being confident and making good eye contact, which clearly I cannot right now because of my technical difficulties, but that is okay. We will get through it. So what to do after you connect with someone? Like I said earlier, one of the core principles is following up with them after to show that you were paying attention and actually care is huge. So, when you're doing that thank you card, like we talked about, saying, like, giving that, like, referring to something you talked about in your conversation, they'll be like, oh my gosh, like, they were really actually paying attention, and they're even more inclined to follow up with you in the future, and you've built that really solid relationship and that foundation right there. And also figuring out how you can help the other person you talked with. Like I said, bringing value. You want to obviously at the end of the day just build that relationship, but think about, how can you help them? Could you maybe refer them to a friend of yours, introduce them to someone you think would be a good fit, inviting them to an event that you're hosting or someone else is hosting. And just like you have to kind of reiterate it here, is just showing that you care and that you're in there, you're here to like just to build that relationship with someone. I think that's really important. Let's see if I come back actually with no, camera is not coming back. Oh well, all good. Okay, next slide. Okay, so practice time. So I want to engage everyone, if possible, over Zoom. One of the things I learned is that just, obviously engaging the people you're speaking with can be helpful. So here's the situation, and we can take a moment to, take a read at it and figure it out. But if for a brave soul who wants to practice with me, let's say this: I am a practicing attorney at Schwartz LLP. I don't know where I came up with that name, but I'm at Schwartz LLP, focusing on bankruptcy law. You are a pre-law student interested in law school and possibly bankruptcy law. What's your approach? Feel free to add your own twist, but think about the core principles we've gone over and everything I've said. That, I've said a lot of things today already, but what do you think the approach is? I'll give you guys maybe 2 minutes, just think about it. And when you guys are ready, if anyone wants to, raise your hand and maybe we can give it a shot.
Hey, Ken, this is Matthew.
Hey, what's up, Matthew? How's it going, man?
So if I were engaging you, if for example I'm a pre-law student and I'm engaging you as a practicing attorney,
Mhm.
I may ask you, where do you think the future of bankruptcy law is going to go, or what are your thoughts on the evolving bankruptcy law in Washington State, or something to that effect, in
Right.
engaging or starting a conversation.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that would be, thank you for obviously sharing too. Yeah, I think asking me about the current news and what the landscape of the practice area is would be a great question to ask when you're in the conversation with me. That would be really important then, because I mean, even now for me as someone who's interested in it as well, I don't have experience. I think about, oh wow, actually, like with COVID and all the businesses that have kind of struggled, unfortunately throughout the pandemic, like is there going to be a lot of bankruptcy filings? Like is there going to be a lot of restructuring? Like, I don't know. So that's a great question. Thank you. What do you, Matthew or anyone else, what do you think would be, okay, let's say I'll add to the situation. I'm sitting at the coffee table at Starbucks. I'm just reading a newspaper or whatever. And, but somehow that I'm a bankruptcy attorney. Let's just think that. What would you do? What would you want? Also, Catherine, thank you. Your comment. Why I would want to ask, regardless of the type of law, why they decided to field, what motivated them. That's like the question. Always asking them, why did you go in here? What was your path? Is a great conversation starter, super open, and just a way for people to get engaged immediately. So thank you so much. But yeah, so let's say, you never met me, but I'm just sitting there, at the table, whatever. What do you think? How would that like initial conversation go? As awkward as it might be, what do you think you would do? Personally, for me, if I was in that situation where if I was one of you going up to me, I would feel like I would just go, I would just be like, hi, I know, I hope I'm not taking too much of your time, but I know that you work at blah, 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 and I just, heard a lot of good things. I've actually seen some of the work you've done, because, a lot of things are open cases. And so like, if you have the time, whether it's now or later, would love to chat, here's, would you be okay exchanging info? Something like that, it seems like it's awkward, but trust me, my experience is a 1-0 already. There have been so many open and willing people who I've never met, just wanting to talk, email, Zoom, whatever it may be. They've been so willing. So you'd be surprised at how open people actually are. Kathy, think you die if you try that? Yeah, I mean, like again, in this Zoom world, we're all like, we're a little antisocial at this point. Even for someone like me who's been pretty confident about his ability speaking to people, like I would be a little nervous too, but it's something we got to do. It's something that barrier we got to break. Okay. Anything else? Anyone else? I have two other situations that I think we could try doing, but if anyone else wants any comments on this one, let me know. Okay. All right. We'll move on to the next one. So I'm a practicing attorney at Schwartz LLP, focusing on bankruptcy law. The caveat though is now you're a current first year law student interested in a summer internship with the firm. What's your approach? Remember, it's all about building relationships. It's all about, you're coming in there with a purpose, but you're not trying to just get that out there. And so you're trying to really show your genuine self and connect with that person. What's the approach? Is there anything different from the last approach? I mean, first of all, my thoughts when it come up with the situation when I was thinking of it is that find out on LinkedIn if we're the same alma mater. Like, if I went to Loyola and you are a current student at Loyola, that's a great conversation. Oh yeah, another thing, besides the things that everyone was saying, the comments earlier, your alumni network is huge, and having that same alma mater is actually a great way for people to build that relationship, to feel like they're comfortable, because we all want to give back to where we put in the work and sweat and tears for those 3 years. So that would be really great if you can figure out if you're from the same alma mater. Catherine, you think okay, you would really approach it differently? Okay, that's a fair point. Honestly, I kind of asked this question to see what you guys would think if there was anything different. But quite frankly, yeah, you're right. It probably is the same at the end of the day. I just think that as a current first year law school student, you might have a bit more questions to ask. You have a little more tangible experience. You're actually in the legal field at this point, and you have a little more knowledge of what you want to do, and also like the topics that you might want to ask. So that's the only difference I would think. Okay. Okay, now let's do one more. I have one more for you guys. Guess what? More practice. Didn't see it coming, huh? The situation is I am a current second year at a school. Well, actually, oh, I see a comment. Um, Catherine, you said, or Matt, you would say, I'd also check out the Schwartz website for career internship opportunities. And Catherine, you would think of genuine, interesting conversation as a priority to increase your chance of future conversations. Both great points. To start with Catherine's, I think, yes, just being genuine and interested in that conversation is a priority, because that's how you're going to get that follow-up. That's how you're going to end up becoming friends, even, you're going to be colleagues, peers. And that's right. Building those building blocks, right? And then to Matt's point as well, checking out the website, you would also, yeah, you would have an idea of what available positions there are. And maybe you could ask, hey, I see that there's only this position available, but I was wondering, do you have any knowledge about, is there any other things that you're looking, other positions that might be coming up that I could maybe prepare for or whatnot? Just a question you could ask, deliver it the right way. And it doesn't come off like, snaky or whatnot. It comes off just like you did the research, you're interested. But okay, in this situation now, more practice. I am a current second year law student at the school you are interested in. Our mutual friend connected us through email. You're interested in setting up a coffee chat next week. How would you go about setting the meeting? What would our conversation look like? So this one's a little bit different, a little more different, probably maybe a little different approach, because we have that initial connection with our friend. What do we think? Well, first of all, I think I would just say that the fact that a mutual friend connected us is huge, because, like I said earlier about having the alumni connection, having a mutual friend is even better, because it's almost like a letter of recommendation for you. It's that person can advocate for you, and the fact that they're connecting you as is shows that the character of who you are, and it was good enough, I guess, to at least get that meeting, and so that's huge. For me, I think what I would do, and please feel free to share if you think you do differently, is I would definitely talk about, like I would message them if I have them, or if possible, I would call them. Depending on the situation, if you think calling is maybe inappropriate, depends. But if you can, I would get that phone call, or maybe have your mutual friend connect you in person before you meet them, and be like, hey, my name's Kenny. Obviously we have our mutual friend Amanda over here, and she told me a lot of great things about what you're doing at school, and I just want to learn more about how you got there and everything. Well, when's a good time for you? Next week at Friday 2 p.m. works for me. Hopefully you have class done by then. Things like that. Matt, you're saying I'd ask for a specific time works for meeting to copy your approach. You mentioned the mutual friend. Yeah, so you just did it exactly right there, right? Thank you. You would suggest a time, you use that mutual friend connection, and hopefully from what I've seen, people are going to be pretty willing to speak with you, honestly, from at least what I've seen. Anyone else got any suggestions? What would our conversation look like? I feel like, would it be formal? Like if I was the judge, would it be informal? Like, what do you think? Not a trick question. I think there's a very right answer here. Well, if anyone was about to type or say it'd be casual, then you are right. And that is ding, ding, ding. That's the answer. Yeah, it would be a lot more casual. Definitely, you wouldn't have to maybe show up in a suit or anything. You could definitely come in there a bit more relaxed, and it would obviously be really ideal because you're feeling much less pressure. You're honestly here to make a friend who's just going to talk to you about school. I've already done this a few times. I've had friends connect me with mutual friends interested in law school at Loyola, and we just Zoom, we just talk. Like I'll just wear, I'll wear like a fun shirt or whatever, and I'll wear a hat or something, and we'll just talk, and it ends up being like 2 hours. And next thing you know, I've made a relationship there. I've built a friend, a possible mentee that I can mentor if they choose to come to Loyola. You never know, but it's just reaching if someone to reach out to me and put in that time to want to speak with me, it just like shows that they really care and that I'm so willing to help them. And that's what I've done with other people too. But okay, if there's no other questions from there, we can go into the conclusion and I'll save some time for Q&A. So the main takeaways and the stuff we've talked about, going back to those pillars, is building relationships and meeting people will be essential to your legal career. And again, I don't mean it to scare anyone. I think we've realized here in this conversation that we're human. We're humans. What do we love to do? We love to eat. We love to exercise and stuff like that. We also love to connect with people. I love connecting with people so much. Just like being able to speak with you all and anyone who watches recording today. It's awesome to be able to just talk with people and make those conversations, learn more about people, learn from these moments and be a better person is amazing. So human nature is definitely one thing, and just the will, like people want to talk. That's what I'm getting at. The second thing is by focusing on just meeting like-minded people and exploring different areas of interest, we can take the pressure off of networking and focus more on what's actually important. I know hopefully no one's too confused with the whole presentation about networking versus building relationships. I know they're essentially like the same thing, but like a different label on it. But what I'm trying to say here is like by taking that label of networking off and putting the building relationships label on, like I've been saying, it takes that pressure off and you're getting the same result at the end of the day, but you're focusing more on the genuine connection and the conversation and everything. And you'd be surprised at the difference it makes just by taking that label off. So that's a big thing too. I hope that when you guys all go into this, after this conversation, you talk to your peers about maybe we shouldn't call it networking. Maybe we should call it building relationships, and maybe we'll get a hashtag building relationships trend going on now. Maybe we'll see on Instagram. Who knows? But I think another thing also is being kind and well-mannered while also being comfortable and outgoing can result in some pretty great outcomes. Catherine, I think you mentioned it earlier. Just being genuine and interested in the conversation can go a long way. And I think just showing someone that you don't have to be so proper and everything, but showing that you're respectful and that you consider their time and just being honest and genuine, outgoing, like all those things can be amazing. And I say it not to be cliche. I say it because these are things that we should remind ourselves every day, especially with the world opening up in the next few months. Let's take the time now to prepare our social skills, to be comfortable and to be ready to speak with those people, to speak with, other pre-law students, speaking with law students like me right now, speaking with practicing attorneys, judges, politicians, etc. Like just practicing our skills to build the relationships and be social is going to be amazing. It's going to be so good for your legal career. It's already done wonders for me. I'm still working on it myself, but just continuously emailing people and setting up those times and using those mutual connections stuff. It's something I'm going to keep carrying on through my clubs that I'm part of, and also just for me as my career. So, everyone, thank you so much for putting up with a lot of the technical difficulties today. I'm sorry if it was distracting for anyone. I didn't anticipate it. My camera's been working fine today, but if there's nothing else, would love for you guys to ask some additional questions that you may want to get addressed. If you want to ask about how's law school, maybe some tips I can give you, feel free to type in the chat or unmute yourself. And I'd love to speak with that because we have, I think, I was hoping to save about 10 minutes left. So yeah. Also, Catherine, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate your understanding. It's a course when you're in the presentation itself that this happens. So yeah. But yeah, any questions? Anything you want to talk about? It doesn't even have to be about the topic today. We can talk about anything at this point.
Hey, I have a quick question. My name is Shakira.
Hey, Shakira, what's up? Thanks for being here.
My question is like, as judges, like, as they might come to the school, they might have like a presentation. How do you address them? Like, is it your honor, like when you're in person with them or like over Zoom?
That's a great question. So I've never encountered a judge outside of the court setting or an interview setting, but chances are if you know they're a judge, you're probably going to say, your honor, just to be safe. It's always your honor, and then not like your majesty or sir or madam. And then if they say, oh, call me Kenny instead of your honor, then you can go from there. But chances are your honor to be a safe bet. Hopefully that answers what you're asking for.
Yes, thank you. Because I went to like one of LSAC's forums, and I had to email a judge, and I was like panicking, like, how do I address this email? And I was like Googling every single thing about him, and I addressed him as your honor. So I just wanted to make sure.
Here, you hit it on the nail. You nail on the head. It's definitely your honor is a safe bet. It's just a respect thing. It's also just that you're considerate and you understand that they're very they're in positions of high power, and so you want to be respectful. So of course, but thanks for asking that. Is everyone here, like, I just want to make sure, I know a lot of people obviously in this program are pre-law students, but what's everyone's situation? Are we taking the LSAT soon? Is everyone applying for schools? Are you waiting on schools right now? I know it's March. What positions are we on? LSAT in June? LSAT in June? June LSAT. Oh man. Oh, I mean, thank you so much again for everyone just spending that valuable time you could have to put up with my my presentation today. I hope I was actually giving you some non-LSAT helpful tips and advice, because the LSAT, although it's important, although it's obviously a big part of the application, if you get an interview or if you just want to start working on your career now, these are skills that you're going to need. So okay, June LSAT, everyone, good luck. Good luck. I really hope that it goes well. And as Steve and everyone's mentioned, it's a test. It's important, but at the end of the day, there's so much more to you that you can bring. It's not just your score as well. Yeah, and Catherine, it is nice to think about something besides the LSAT. When I was studying, were it 2 years ago, I didn't study all day. I studied like a lot of the day, but then I had time with my friends, time working out and everything. And so it's really nice to be able to do non-law school stuff as well. Okay. And my video was doing so well. We were doing okay. I'm gonna stop the share. No, we were doing so well, guys. Okay, we're back. Okay. Any 5 minutes, 5 minutes, ask away if you want to hear about, if anyone's interested in Loyola in LA, or any of the LA job market schools or whatnot, feel free to ask anything.
I have a question. When you start law school, I know there's like a different type of studying. Like, how long did it take you to find like your footing and like taking notes for classes?
So honestly, like, I'm still kind of learning as well as a second semester first year right now, but I think it took me a couple weeks to understand that Google Docs was not going to be it for me. And I switched to OneNote. That's like one tangible piece of advice I learned is being more organized. In terms of actually thinking about like being a law student and the reading, you'd be surprised actually. You struggle for it with a few weeks, but then eventually you kind of realize, okay, what part of the opinions are important? What part of the reading do you actually need to do? Do you have to read everything? Do you not? You'll understand quickly what your professor wants. And so everyone's different though. I had some friends who were like they just picked it up from the get-go, but for me it took me a few weeks, honestly. And this is over Zoom too. When you guys are in person doing school, it could be easier. But yeah, law school is, I am not jealous, or I am very jealous that everyone here gets to do 1L in person eventually. I love my 1L experience so far, but it would have been even sweeter. Is cold calling really as bad? No, it's not really bad at all. I think they just make a joke about it at this point. Cold calling, it just incentivizes people to, pay attention and do the reading. But a lot of times professors understand. If you don't know the answer, you'll be like, I'm sorry, professor, I don't know today, or like at least try, and they'll appreciate the effort. Can go a long way too. But it's really not bad. I've never had a professor like yell at me or dock points. That's not the case. But maybe they're being nicer because you know. Also, Jocelyn, welcome. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. We're just talking about law school right now, and some of the last minute questions people have. Yeah, I got like 2 minutes left. But anyone else? Last question.
Yeah, I have another question. How do you balance between like studying and then also like connecting with people, your own social life? Like, have you created like a schedule? Like, okay, on Fridays, I dedicate my afternoon to this.
Mhm. So that's a good thing. Good thing you asked. So what I do is when I'm eating and when I am just like walking or maybe when I'm exercising, that's when I actually schedule a lot of like my phone calls or like my video calls with people because I'm doing tasks that don't really require much effort. And so maybe kill two birds with one stone, like eat while also talking with a friend or, following up with someone, things like that. Obviously in like a more professional interview or something, I would be not doing that, but things like that, you'd be surprised that you just have to time manage really well. But I'm still able to exercise, connect with people, constantly do school and everything, and still have some time to myself, and you'll really be able to handle it. And also, I was just gonna type in the chat as well for anyone who just met me today. Hopefully you'll see more of me around with these meetings and stuff. I'm gonna send my email. This is my Berkeley email that I use. KennyPark29 at berkeley.edu. Feel free to email me. Actually, Jocelyn, I remember she emailed me after I spoke one time, and her and I built that relationship too now. It's good to see her. I know her well now, and wishing her good things with her LSAT career and everything and stuff. So hopefully we can kind of. Oh, thank you. One of the best things you did. That's flattering. I appreciate that. So feel free to send me an email. I would love to hear from you. But thank you so much for having me today, everyone. And if there's any other questions you have, send me an email. I'm checking it constantly. But thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning into the show. Please subscribe if you haven't done so already to be notified of new episodes as I release them. And feel free to reach out if you need anything at all as you move forward with your prep. I'm happy to help however I can. In the meantime, I'll wish you all the best and take care.